Good morning to all the faculties and participants. Myself, Dr. Bharat Khatri, Associate Professor in Mechanical Engineering Department from Government Engineering College, Modasa. Welcome to all the participants from the various institutes and various states on Atal FDP on the topic of alternative fuels today. Today we are starting our FDP, so we are not going for any type of formal inaugurations. We just joined the inauguration of AICT Atal inauguration at 11 o'clock. We already share you one link of Atal inaugurations. So we will join that inauguration at 11 o'clock. Also, I will share that link on my this screen also, so you can see that things from this side also. But it is preferable that you will join that directly, so they can also acknowledge your attendance. Okay. So now today the first thing I am able to see how many participants are joined already. Kalpesh?
Yes. 43.
33. Okay. So I think this is your first session, so they are also having some joining first time, so they will take time. So here the alternative fuels FDP will be for the duration of 22nd November to 26th November 2021. Please mute the others mics, participant mics. Please mute the participant mics. Please mute the participant mics. Getting the voice from the participants. Please, Jigar, please mute all participant mics during the presentations. I will wait for the 2-3 minutes that so that other participant can join. And also, please try to convey if your friends and colleagues are there.
Sir, you are muted. Kindly unmute yourself.
We'll wait for the 5 minutes so other participant can join. Alternative fuel is a recent research topic for the automobile engineers as well as for mechanical engineers who have the thermal background. I think sharing more, so I cannot see the list of the number of the participants. Can you say, Kalpesh, how many participants have joined right now?
Yes, sir, 44.
44. Still increasing. So let's start today's topic. The first session, that is about the potential alternative fuels for automobiles in India. I think people are joining. So let's start the sessions. As the topic heading names that potential alternative fuels for automobiles in India. Whatever the things I will discuss, that will be in perspective to the India only. There are a lot of global data available. What is happening in the globally, that is shown in the all presentation in the PDF. But we'll want to discuss what is happening in the India about the this alternative fuels. So I limited the presentation in this up to the India only. The first thing that come in our mind, that why we discuss about this sector only, automobile sector. The thing is that if you'll see that there are so many transportation methods are there. In that one transportation methods, the road transportation method is very preferable method for any passenger as well as for the good movement compared to the other mode of the transport methods like air, water or rail transport. In India, has the second largest road network in the world, and that is spanning a length of the 5.89 million kilometers. Very big. It is the second largest network in the road network. If you'll see here, the figure shows that the four type of the transportation methods, either that is by the road, either that is by the train, or by the aeroplanes, or you can say by the shipping. And here one the data is shown, that is a gross value addition by the any transportation methods. The road transportation method has a data of 5,306 billion. If you compare with others, it is towards 64.5% of overall country's good movement, right? So it is having a major part, that is a 64.5%. And this data is for the 2019, right? Recent year, 2019. And here you can see India is the fifth largest automobile market in the world, within the 3.82 million units sold in the 2019. So it shows that we are mostly preferring the automobile sectors, and also in the transportation methods also we are totally depends on the road transports, right? And it is grooming. The sector is totally grooming. Second thing, if we categorize these vehicles that is available in India, if we classify the Indian transport vehicles, the source is taken as a IEBF Motor Vehicle Act 1988. Then you will find that there are passenger carriers, goods carriers. In that one also you will get private vehicles, public vehicles. All things are there. Two-wheelers, four-wheelers, three-wheelers are there. And the goods carriers, there the three-wheelers and the four-wheelers are there. Trucks and mini trucks, autos, other things are there. So if you see, there is a lot of varieties are available in the commercial as well as non-commercial zone. So these vehicles are classified either in the commercial zone or non-commercial zones. but already discussed in earlier slide that it is covering a lot of percentage of GVA. So due to that percentage, India manufactured 26.36 million vehicles in financial year 2020. So it shows that how many, how is the impact of this transport sector on the Indian GDP also. Let's see the vehicle production and sales in market. You will see that domestic vehicle production trend of the India, that it is continuously increasing from 2015 to 2020, right? 2020 you will see the somewhat decrease due to the corona, right? Corona effect, COVID effect, COVID-19 effect. So Indian industries, automobile sector industries are continuously producing the vehicles, and so is that they are trying to improve that production capacity also. If you'll see the sales trend also in India, it is also continuously increasing. I request all the participants to mute your mics. Please mute your mic. So in the sales trend also, if you'll say in 2015 it is 19.72 million units. Right now in the 2019 it is 26 million. And 20 obviously sales is decreased to the 21.55 million units with the COVID-19 effect. There is certain drops in that one due to the decline in the domestic demands of for the vehicle in 2020. The OEM, the manufacturer, had restored in increasing the export to achieve the desired sales. During the 2020, export of the vehicles grew to the 4.76 million vehicles from the 4.62. So on the last figure, on the down figure, you can see here the trends of the export also. So we are performing very well. We are increasing the exporting the vehicle also up to the 6%. Here you can see the trend also. So it shows that totally the number of the vehicles in the India will increase due to the impact of in the transport sector also. So we have to discuss about the automobile sector due to that reason, that we have to focus on the automobile sector, that it shows that it is booming. It's also play the major part of the GDP of India. So here we have to discuss about that one. That is the reason. Now the second thing is coming, that why alternative fuels for the automobiles, right? So that is the thing, that why we have to discuss about the automobile sector. And now we have to think what is the reason that why we have to discuss about the automobile sector. And also why we have to discuss about the alternative fuels for automobiles. The thing you will discuss here, the first thing is high import dependency. Let's see what is the high import dependency. If you see the share of various type of vehicles and its fuel consumption, on the left side you will see the pie chart that is showing the number of the vehicles sold. Right. So here you can see that the number of the vehicles in the two-wheelers is over 194 millions, right? And other commercial vehicle is 12.4 millions, that is covering 5% share of overall vehicles. So that is up for the data of 2016 and 17, right? Right. So various vehicles are used, and it's covering the variety of the percentages in overall market. That if two-wheeler, you mostly depend on the two-wheeler transportations. Two-wheeler transportations. So you will find that 194 million vehicles are there in the two-wheelers, and that will cover 75% of the market of automobile sector. If you next segment is a four-wheeler, that is a 36 millions, and that is also covering the 14%. Right now, for that vehicles, if you see the consumption of the fuels, there are two types of the normal fossil fuels are used. Petroleum fuels are used, that is the petrol and the diesel. So on the right hand side, you can see the one chart which showing the fuel consumption for the year 2016 and 17, where you can find 22.6 million metric ton is a fuel consumption, petrol fuel consumption is there. Likewise, 81.6 million metric ton diesel consumption is there. And also estimated number of the vehicles in 2016-17 is 257.32 millions, and that consume this much diesel and this much petrol. Now trends in the consumption of the diesel and the petrol in metric million tons, if you see that will continuously increasing. So whatever the fossil fuel that is there, that is consumption is continuously increasing in the India. It started in the 2005 to 6, that is the 40.19 millions, and now it is reached to the 76.03 millions in case of the diesel. Likewise, same manner, if you see the trend consumption of the petrol in India, that is 8.65 petrol million tons, that is in 2005 and 6. Right now, at 2016 and 17, it is 23.77 millions metric ton. So data indicated about 76 metric ton of diesels and about 24 metric ton of the petrol is consumed by the all sectors. Out of this consumption, it is estimated that by the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturer that about 100% of gasoline. So whatever the 24 million ton is there, that is consumed for the transport sector, and 50% of diesel is consumed for the road transport sector. So that's showing that we are consuming a lot of petrol and the diesel for the automobile sector. The trends in the consumption of the diesel and petrol is also the progressive one, as you see from the 2005 to 6 to the 2016-17, it is continuously increasing. Earlier in 2005-6, diesel is consumed 40 million ton. Nowadays, in 16-17 data, it is 76 millions. Likewise, in the petrol also, it shows the increasing trend. Now, this is our overall consumption, but Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturer says that, estimated that there is 100% of gasoline is consumed in the petrol in the automobile sector. So 22 or 24 million tons gasoline is used for the automobile sector. And 50% of the diesel, what is shown here, 76.03, from that 50% diesel is used for the road transport sector. So it shows that it requires a lot of petroleums. Here in the diesel also they bifurcate the percentage of the diesels which is used in the automobile sector. So you can see that 37.3% goods vehicles are using the diesels, and some diesel cars, and the agriculture sectors 18.3% is used by the agriculture sector. Industry is using the 5.4% of the diesel. So mostly 50% of the diesel is used by the automobile sectors. Now the future projection of fuel consumption, if you will see, this graph is showing that from 2006 to 7 to the 2029 to 30, it is continuously increasing, right? And estimate have indicated that total requirement of petroleum product in financial year 2017 to 18 was about 210 million tons. And out of total demand, only 17.9% was met from the domestic productions. So it is approximate 18% from the domestic productions. There is a huge gap between the domestic production and the requirement, which could be met only by either enhancing the crude oil production or increase the production of alternative fuels to avert any major crisis. If you will see the domestic production as well as the import percentage, then in the domestic production of the oil, we are continuously decreasing the productions due to the unavailability of the resources, and we are due to that we have to increase the import from 3.45% in the recent 5 years. Likewise, in the natural gas also, there is import is increased from 8.51%. So decline in the production of the crude oils and natural gas during the financial year 13 to 19 has further contributed towards the country's import dependency. So here you can see the crude oil import dependency is 88% in 2019, as well as natural gas import dependency is 36% in 2019. So it shows that a lot of part is we take from the import. A very less part we are doing the production, domestic production, and that is limitation from our side in our country. The import of oil price fluctuation on the India's oil import bill, you can see the import is continuously increasing, the green line shows in the chart, but due to the reduction in the price from 15 to the 19, you can see the drop in the costing, right? So Indian saves trillions of rupees on the import as the crude oil price fell. But recently we see that crude oil price is increasing from 2020 and 21. So we also tasted the bitter taste of increase of the price of the petrol and diesel. So India needs to move away from the conventional vehicle technology in order to avoid the high import dependency on the fossil fuel like petrol and diesel. So that is the first reason that why we have to think about the alternative fuels. So Government of India therefore has mooted a roadmap for reduction of the import of crude oil dependence by the 10% by the 21 to 22, and also they have given the lot of things that by increasing the production of the natural gas, you can do the reduction in this import, promoting the energy efficiency. Also, you can go for the potential use of the biofuels and other alternative fuels to increase the reduction in the import. The second reason is about the emissions and the air pollutions. So what are the fossil fuels we are using that leads towards the emission and the air pollutions? If you see the pollutions problem with the India, you can see here the India was ranked 5th in the world's most polluted country in 2019. So it shows that there is a lot of sources of pollution. One of the pollution sources is also automobile vehicles. Also, one data is there where the from the 10 most polluted city, 6 cities are from India in 2019. Also, you can find that 12.5% of total death is due to the air pollution. And today itself, in the newspaper, it is highlighted that 20 lakh people are dead in 2020 due to the pollutions. With alarming air pollution levels across India, the urgency of national level action plans was therefore inevitable. So we are required to control these pollutions in India, and for that one also there is a Paris meet was happening, and that India also gave the commitment that in 2000 up to 2022 we will get a target of 113 gram per kilometer of CO2 emissions for passenger cars. So we also committed in the Paris 2017 that will reduce our CO2 emissions. Here you can see the other countries' emission level also and commitment. We also, to reduce the emissions, we have also introduced the BS1 to the 6, BS6 in 2020 to reduce the emission, to stringent the norms about the emission from the automobiles. So here, latest BS6 was introduced in April 2020, and BS6 norms are 6 days for vehicular emission in India, and it is equivalent to the Euro 6 standard for slightly relaxed limits. So we introduced in 2020. If we'll compare with the other countries, European country has started the European Euro 6 in 2015 to limit the emissions, and we started in the 2020. And China also, you can see on this figure that it will try to start in 2021. If you comparison the emission in form of the 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers from the BS4 to BS6, the data is shown here. And here you can see finally that BS6 has tightened acceptance limit for the particular matter and carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide for the 2-wheelers, and hydrocarbon nitroxide for the 2 and 3-wheelers. So here you can see the BS6 and BS4 comparisons, and the BS6 stringent the norms for the all pollutant elements. The India's initiative for monitoring and the control of the air pollution, so you can see from 1974 we have started the journey to monitor the pollutions. So for that we have started in 22nd September 1974 Central Pollution Control Board to monitor these pollutions, and the need to raising the concern among the environmental and the government authority, which drove the need for creation of institutions for oversighting effort for curbing such pollution level. So you can see the lot of policies where came in 2019. There is a national clean air program launch, set the national target to achieve 20 to 30% reduction of the PM 2.5 to PM 10 concentration by the 2020. So we have set a lot of parameters. Lot of agencies are also developed. At the central level, there is a CPCB. At the state level, there is a SPCB. and that are monitoring the parameters. Here you can see on the left side, that is the PM25 and the PM10. Also that monitor the SO2, NO2, ozone, ammonia and benzenes levels. Their main function to measure these all things and control that one. Also, in 2015, Prime Minister of India launched National Air Quality Index for monitoring the quality of air in major city across the country on real-time basis and enhancing the public awareness for the taking appropriate action to reduce the air pollution. The AIQ is promoted as one number, one color and one description to inform the public about the air quality in simple and easily understandable format. So here you can see the AIQ level, green color, that indicates 0 to 50 minimum impact on the health. Thereafter the color codes are there, lighter green, thereafter yellow, that is a moderate, and the poor is 2001 to 300 AQI, and the severe is the 400 to the 500. So they are the issue the AQI index for the measuring the impact on the health also. Transport sectors contributed 138 trillion metric ton of CO2 in 2007 to 8, which was 7% of overall CO2 from the India. So you can focus that there is a very highly impact of the transport sector on the overall CO2 emissions. With higher demand of the fuels in the future, it is expected that contribution could be raised to the 346 trillion metric ton by 2022, an increase of 150% of the CO2 emissions, and that also cause a difficulty in upcoming time. Here you can see the photograph of the Delhi, which is facing the same problem, that emission and air pollution make a very life difficult, and now they are imposing the lockdown due to the air pollution in the Delhi. There are so many reasons. One of the reasons may be transportation, one of the reasons from the agriculture sector also, but there is a certain percentage of the automobile sector also there playing the role. So need, what is the need? Why we want to shift the mobile strategy? That reason is that extreme high conventional vehicle sales, that is 97%. Also, India is among the most polluted country in the world, ranked 5th, and the global warming. Due to CO2 emission, there is a global warming. So we require to think to shift our mobility strategy. So improving India's energy security, the first concern is that by reducing the dependence on the import of the crude oil. Second thing, improving the environment by reducing the impact from the transport sector in terms of the CO2 and the emissions. Conventional fuels are there that is done with that of the petrol and diesel. Non-conventional, we all know there is a CNG, hydrogen, biofuels and electrical fuels are there. The alternative fuels, so we have to shift towards the alternative fuels, and you can say there are several potential solutions to earlier discussed issues for reduced consumption, increased production, or shift towards the alternative source of energy. Alternative fuels include fuels other than the petrol and diesels that are used in IC engine or vehicles. There are so many things that we have to discuss, that alternative fuels provide the best option to replace the traditional fossil fuels and provide opportunity for reducing the import of oil bills and mitigation of the pollutions, and can be produced sustainably. So here that is the main thing, that it can be produced sustainably. Second thing is that alternative fuels are in focus area of the world also due to their inherent benefits in terms of economy, high quality of energy, environmental compatibility and renewability. Therefore, several countries like USA, Brazil, Canada, Australia, China, Thailand and most European countries are in the process of transition to move over higher share of the alternative fuels to avoid economic and environmental crisis. There are so many alternative fuel options in India for automotive purposes. First one, normally in public transport, we shift towards the CNG or LNG. There are so others are there, hydrogens, biofuels, electric and solar power mobilities would form the option for the alternative fuels. We will take one by one in the brief manner. CNG is a compressed natural gas. All of we are aware that it is methane stored at the high pressures. Italy was the first country to use the natural gas as a vehicle fuel in 1920. GAIL India initiated the pilot programs in 1992 to use the CNG as a vehicle fuel in India in collaboration of the Indian Institute of Petroleum in 3 cities, namely Delhi, Mumbai and Baroda. So from 1992 we started the working to use the CNG as an alternative fuels. So here we install the CNG tanks that can use in the ICNG. India embarked on the ambitious plans of spreading CNG across the various regions of the country, which would have also enabled to shifting the vehicle to the CNG fuel. CNG, you can say CNG vehicle operates much like gasoline powered vehicles with SI engine technology. Engine functions are more same way as the gasoline engines, and natural gases are stored in the fuel tank cylinders typically on the back of the vehicles. So CNG vehicle technology available in India is having the two types. One is a dedicated CNG engines. So dedicated CNG engines that only work on the CNG. These are the vehicles I have found before the 6 months when I go to fuel my car from the CNG. I seen 2-3 SR trucks are there in the Bodasa. So I found that I asked the drivers about that. They said that these trucks are working only CNG and they are coming from the Delhi and supplying the courier parcel to the Pune. So they are transporting the courier parcel from Delhi to Pune, the long route you can say, based on the CNGs. There are so many options for the CNG pumps from Delhi to the Pune, so they can work on that one, and that reduce the price of transportation compared to the diesel or the petrol. So that they are the dedicated CNG engines. Second one is a biofuel retrofitted gasoline engines, which we are getting normally in personal cars, in the personal vehicles. So that runs on the biofuels, either CNG, either gasolines. You can retrofit the CNG kits in that your vehicles. That is in the two portion. One is a tank, one is your ECU for the CNG and the injection valves. So that can operate both on petrol as well as on the CNG. Vehicle compatibility. So normally manufacturers are developed such a vehicles that can be compatible to CNG and the petrol both, and we can easily move towards the CNG. But overall potential is significantly limited due to the limited availability of the CNG infrastructure. The reason that we have to develop the lot of CNG pumps and CNG stations in the country. If you see the current trends of 2019 or current data of 2019, you can find a lot of data of a state which is having the CNG stations. For that, Gujarat is a leading state which provides a lot of CNG stations, like 400 CNG stations, and it has 8 lakh CNG vehicles running currently. And from 2004 to 14 to 17, CNG sales is drastically increasing. In the second, Delhi and the Maharashtra are working for that one, and they are consuming the CNG lot more. Right now there is a 1730 means 1730 CNG stations have been set up with a total of 33.47 lakh CNG vehicle on the road up to the 2019. And future expansion you can say about the CNG is in 2017 there is a 1300 CNG stations, and India is aiming for the 10,000 CNG stations in 2030. So they are try to build some infrastructure to make available the CNG to all over India, right? So the aim is to get a 10,000 CNG station across the India in 2013. Importance of the CNG that it is a very cheaper fuel. If you compare with the petrols, the price today's price, if you take petrol price is 100, then CNG price is 62 per kg, and it's also have the higher average on the vehicle also. Lot of advantages are from the CNG, that it is having the dual facility, it is having low operating capacity, and the safe fuel you can say. It also give the less emissions, so it is eco-friendly, convenient. It is also easily to adopt the CNG technology in the existing vehicles. So that is the advantages from the CNG vehicles. Please mute the participant. I request the participant to mute yourself. So advantage is that it requires a lot of infrastructure to build the CNG stations on the road, Thereafter, then you can drive your vehicles to on that roads. In Gujarat, there is sufficient infrastructure, but after the Gujarat, there is a very limited resources in the Rajasthan, so that is limiting the use of the CNG in the market. And also the CNG gas kit that is having price from the 35,000 to 65,000. There are limited some issue with the maintenance of that vehicle also. You require to check the spark plug and repeatedly replace the spark plug also. Also require to clean the air filters and other things. You also require to check the CNG tank after the 3 years. So that are some limitations of the CNG vehicles. The second option is liquefied natural gases. That is a low carbon fuel formed by the liquefied methanes at a low temperature around the -160 degrees Celsius, which being stored in the liquid state increases energy density, can be stored at moderate pressure in the smaller fuel tanks. And the LNG is the most beginning fuels with the least emission of the pollutant like SO2, NO2, CO. Gas sustainably reduced using LNG. Emission factor of the LNG is only 56,000 kg per ton joule, which is if you compare with the diesel, it is a 2/3. You can say LNG can reduce CO2 by around 30% of the diesel run vehicles. LNG is gaining the popularity in the China. You can say that 3 lakh vehicles of China is running on the LNG. Europe is also trying to make a blue corridor for LNG distribution. LNG is a fuel choice for the long haul truck. So LNG is required to be stored in the cryogenic tanks on onboard vehicles. Since it is stored in the liquid state, size of the tank is very small, but you require the cryogenic setup in your vehicles. Right? So the major benefit is that for long haul vehicles, you can move around 600 to 700 kilometers by using the LNG, which is 3 times to the CNG tanks. Right? And it also very fast to fill the tanks. You can say 200% of CNG. So people are also thinking the way for the using the LNGs. The fuel handling system on the vehicles need exhaustive change with the cryogenic tanks being a major part of the systems, while on the engine side, CNG compatible engine would be compatible, may not need major change, right? But you require the cryogenic setup. Here also we discussed the vehicle compatibility requirement is to set the cryogenic tank inside the vehicle, right? So that increases the cost of the vehicle also. Vehicles need to be kept in the open and not be parked in the closed space to prevent the fuel vapor buildup around the vehicle. So there are certain care should be taken with the LNG also. LNG availability, if you check that there is a lot of availability in the India. Dahej is having a 50 metric million ton. Hazira is a 5, Dabhol is a 5, and the Kochi is a 5. So there is a 30 metric million ton per annum LNG capability is there. Petronet is setting 20 LNG station in petrol pump on the highway among the west coast of the that can connect the Delhi with the Thiruvananthapuram, covering the total distance of 4,500 km via Mumbai and the Bangalore. So there are people at India government also thinking to develop the LNG station across the highway for the heavy vehicles. LNG cost LNG trucks are expected to be costlier than the diesel counterpart due to the cryogenic tanks. High cost of the cryogenic tank is most or major cost addition to the vehicles. So due to this very limited use of the LNG you can see in the market, lot of things you will find offer CNG technology, not LNG technology, due to the cryogenic tanks that require to be mounted on the vehicles, and that add a lot of cost, and that require a lot of maintenance also. The third option is the biofuels, right? Domestic biofuels provide a strategic opportunity to the country as they reduce the nation's dependence on the imported fossil fuels. And when utilized biofuels, it can be environmental friendly as well as it is sustainable also. So that is a big point that biofuels can be give the environmental benefit also. They also helped generate employment in the India, like by the Make in India programs. Also provide the Swachh Bharat mission support. And as far as the biofuels are concerned, uh, government has formulated biofuel policy in 2009 with ambitious target of 20% biofuel blending. The actual blending was far less due to the number of the reasons. There is a still possibility to achieve the target set up under initiative like ethanol blending petrol programs and national biodiesel missions, biodiesel blending programs to increase the use of the biofuels as a blended fuel. So ethanol is one of the principal biofuels which is naturally produced by the fermentation of the sugar by the yeast via petrochemical processes such as ethylene hydration. The most common biofuels can be get from the sugar cane, sugar beet, sugar sugar. Uh, it is also produced from the starch containing the materials such as corn, cassava, agile, including the cellulose materials. Uh, However, in India, 98% ethanol is produced from the sugar cane molasses. Right? So ethanol blending offers significant advantage such as increase in the research octane numbers of a blend. Uh, Calorific value of ethanol is two-thirds of the gasolines. That indicates the increase in the ethanol content will decrease the heating value of ethanol gasoline blend. Hence, more fuel is required to achieve the same engine power output. However, ethanol has a high octane number, thus engine can be operated with a high compression ratio without knocking. This increases the efficiency of the engine considerably. So you can use the blend of ethanol with a petrol to get a better economy. Also get a good calorific value of ethanol. So government policy on the biofuels are announced from the 2003 to the 2019. Continuously, they are focusing on the how to increase the use of the biofuels. So recently in December 2020, government aims to advance adoption of the 20% blending gasoline in the country by 2025. Newer vehicles on the E20 means 20% blend will have to meet BS6 norm also. So government shift 20% blending from 2013 aim to the 2025. Earlier it is decided to reach 2000 in the 2030, but now they have decided that the limit for the 20% blend should be at the 2025 only. There are so many policies are there which indicate the mandatory use of the biofuels or blending of the biofuels. In 2012, they have given the mandatory use of the biofuel up to the 10% mandatory blend, and now they aim for the 20% in the 2025. So that they can achieve by the ethanol blend petrol program, EVP programs. So they have given the limit to the OMC, oil marketing companies, that you should reduce the use of the natural petrol or diesels, and for the petrol you can use up to the 20% of the ethanols in the blend fuels. So you can create E20 fuels, and that can be used easily on the market also. So if you see the environment impact of E20 fuels, if you compare with the normal gasoline, that you will find that there is a 50% lower carbon monoxide emissions in the E20 E20 fuel when it is used in the two-wheelers. When you are using the three-wheelers or four-wheelers, it is a 30% lower carbon monoxide emissions. So it is very beneficial for the environmental perspective. So overall, ethanol blending can help decrease in the emission from the both two-wheeler and the four-wheeler cases. Production of EBP compatible vehicles. Currently produced two-wheelers and passenger vehicles in the country are designed optimally for the E5, 5% blend of the ethanol in the petrols, and we aiming that up to the 2023 we can move towards toward the E10, means 10% mixing of the ethanols, and from 2025 we can use the vehicles with the E20 twin engines that can be rolled out across the country from April 2025. These vehicles would run on the E20 only and provide the high performance also. So there is a aim of government that they will modify the technology of vehicles so that can support the E20 biofuels. So they will change the engine, they will change some plastic components that are used in the engines. Availability of ethanols and the blending percentage. In the 13-14, we use the 1.53 blend of ethanols. Nowadays, in 1920, we switched to the 5% blend, and these are the crore liters shown in the graph that how much ethanol is available in the country. So you can see there is a 173 crore liter of the ethanol is available in the country, and we won for the 5% blending in the 1920. And further, the allocation of for the ongoing 2021 has surged for the 332 crore liters of the ethanols. That is 91% more in comparison of ethanol supplies received in the 1920. So we are going to aim towards the 332 crore liter of the ethanols in the next years. Currently, and the plant storage capacity infrastructure of oil manufacturing company for the biofuels or ethanol blending. You can see the IOC and other companies are trying to increase the current capacity. On the first column, you can see the current capacity is 17.80 crore liters, and they are work in progress. That is a 26.84 crore liter capacity they are making additionally, and now they will aiming for the 44 crore liter ethanol capacity in the next year, upcoming years. So similarly, with a total tankage capacity of 44.64 crore liters by 2025, about 1,060 crore liters of ethanol can be handled annually, considering the 15 days coverage of the period. So OMC also trying to increase the capacity to store the ethanol blended petrol. There is a ethanol blended petrol production and the rollout plant given by the government, and that increase continuously. How we can increase the percentage of the ethanols in the use. You can see the columns that shows the capacity of India to generate the ethanols. The second column is showing the productions that is done in the respective years. So you can see here lot of production is done with the help of the sugars, and some production is done with the help of the grains, that is shown by the green mark. So and the last column is showing you the blending and the use of ethanol. So major percent of ethanol is used for the blending, and other use there is a very limited other use there. So E20 will be used compulsory in the nation in 2025 for the vehicles, automobile vehicles. So that is the aim of the government. So that can be made by using this rollout plan. The next option, other than the bio ethanol blended oil, petrol, there is a biodiesels. Biodiesels, you can say, is a methyl or ethyl ester of fatty acid produced from the non-edible vegetable oils, acid oils, used cooking oils or animal fats, and the bio oils. And biodiesel is renewable, biodegradable fuel manufactured domestically from the vegetable oils, animal fats, and recyclable restaurant grease. And the government of India has initiated biodiesel purchase policy in October 2005 and permitted the sale of the biodiesel B100 by the private manufacturer to the bulk consumer by making this policy. Retailing of biodiesels, blended diesels by the public sector oil manufacturing company has started in the 2015 for blending high-speed diesels to extend up to the 5% blend, right? And the vehicle compatibility, you can say passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles today are more material compatible with the 5% biodiesel blend diesel. So you can mix this biodiesel 5% in the normal diesel as per the current policy. You can go for the biodiesel production process. This will be discussed in the very depth with the other experts in the future session. So I'm not touching this. The property of the biodiesel, if you compare it, is almost near to the same to the diesels. There are so many advantages of the biodiesels. That is a less greenhouse gas emission is there. Cleaner biofuels refineries are there. Biodegradables and non-toxics if you use the biodiesels, and reduce the foreign oil dependency. Better fuel economy by using the biodiesels. Positive economic impact is there. So there are a lot of advantages from the biodiesels. Challenges with the biodiesel is that availability of a feedstock is one of the challenge. Sustainability is the second challenge. Economic feasibility is also one of the challenge, and the quality SEO for the oxidative stability is also the challenge of the biodiesel. So these are the 4 segments where there is certain challenges in the biodiesel. Availability of the biodiesels, if you see year by year, it is increasing. Biodiesel on the road on the 2019 is 15 million liters on the road, and diesel was used 39,834 million liters, and the blend is 0% in 2019. Thereafter, we increase the percentage of blends, and there are so many policies of governments are there, so that increase the use of the biodiesels, and now on the road there is a 44 million liters of biodiesels are used in 2017. So here you can see the large scale blending of B100 and releasing B5 is achieved mainly in Tamil Nadu, Telangana, West Bengal and a few other states. So these states are using the large scale of the biodiesel blending. Despite the blending targets outlined in the previous biodiesel policy of the government, the percentage blending of the biofuels was not encouraging enough. So here you can see the percentage increase in the blend rate is very small. This is not significant. It is approximately 0.001% only. Although there are so many policies, but people are not looking at with certain problems. Here we are listed the advantage of ethanol as fuels, and the disadvantage of ethanol as a fuel also we are listed. The second aspect, is after ethanol, there is a methanol or dimethyl ether as an alternative fuel, we can say. So methanol is alcohol fuel which is a clear and colorless, being produced by the variety of source like biomass, natural gases, coal and cellulose. Methanol can be transformed in the form of the dimethyl ethers. Production of the methanol is highly economical from natural gases and biomass and coals. India is at nascent stage in methanol production and the use, but government of India is also focusing how to use that potential for the wide applications. Presently, methanol is produced only as a chemicals, and there are 5 main producers of methanol in India. That is Gujarat, Narmada Valley Fertilizer from the Gujarat, and some more. So here currently we are not using methanol in India as a fuels. The production of the methanol is by the dry mass and the wet mass procedures. You can get methanols. Comparison of the property of the methanol, ethanol, and the diesel is shown here. So you can see the methanol is more corrosive than gasolines. May require the new equipment for the storage. So people are less focused on the methanols. So mostly they are focusing on the CNG and the you can say the biofuels on the diesel sector, and the ethanol in the petrol sector. The next fuel is the hydrogen as alternative fuels. In the foreign countries, people are proposing to use the hydrogen as alternative fuels in the heavy vehicles like buses. Nowadays, you can see a lot of photos of the hydrogen bus in the website on the foreign country that is working on the hydrogen. The interest in hydrogen as alternative transportation fuel stems from its ability to power the fuel cell in the zero emission vehicles and its potential for domestic productions, and the fuel cells fast filling time and high efficiency. Hydrogen can also serve as a fuel for the normal internal combustion engines. Hydrogen vehicle is a type of alternative fuels vehicles that use hydrogen fuels for the motive powers. Working principle of hydrogen engine is shown here in this figure, that you can see there is a hydrogen tank is there is a fuel cell is there is a battery is there that is charged with the fuel cells and that run the electric motor. So more or less it is near about same to the EV, only the fuel tank, hydrogen tank and fuel cells is additional aspect compared to the EV, which give the charging to the battery and current to the battery. The fuel cell is a device that takes the chemical energy in form of the hydrogen, turns it into the electricity that can power the electric motor just like a battery. You can extract the hydrogen from the biomass, natural gases, coals, petroleum gas, electricity, nuclears. So there are a lot of ways to get the hydrogen from the surrounding. There is a certain sustainable path of the hydrogen is also shown in this figure, that you can get from the solar energy also the hydrogen. You can from the biomass also you can get the hydrogen. If you compare the property of the hydrogen with the gasoline and methanes, you find a lot of similar characteristics. But main thing is that a high heating value compared to the all fuels. It is a very good calorific value or high heating values, so that increase your average and also reduce the running cost. So hydrogen can be stored in the compressed form or in the cryo-compressed form or in the liquid forms. There are so many ways are there to store physically the hydrogen, and material bed the hydrogen storage can be done also. Here we also give one expert session on the hydrogen fuels in the next upcoming session. So I'm running very fast as we are taking a lot more times in the inauguration of the AST Atal. So I'm skipping some slides. There are so many advantages from the hydrogen. One of the big advantage is the economical competitive and faster refueling and the clean fuels. Disadvantage of the hydrogen is flame temperature of the hydrogen is high, so emission of NOx is also high. Difficult to store. If hydrogen tank is kept in the gas phase, bulk fuel storage is required. Difficulty in the refueling and high chance of the detonation is there in hydrogen. Poor volumetric efficiency is there also one factor for the hydrogen fuel. And the development of India about the hydrogen, if you see, the IOCL and Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers started in 2005 has collaborated to undertake a pilot project to set up the hydrogen and CNG means SCNG dispensation stations in 2005. In following year 2006, India notified the National Hydrogen Energy Road Map. So they've given the roadmap in the bid to make itself a hydrogen-based economy. The roadmap proposed 1 million hydrogen-based IC engine fuel cells vehicles by the 2020, but it is not made yet. In September 2007, MNRE Ministry of Renewable Energy supported the project demonstrating the hydrogen up to the 30% with the CNG in 7 automobiles to the CIM, with the help of the CIM. However, after that, there hasn't been a significant progress recorded in hydrogen mobility space after the 2007. It was only in 2017 when Tata Motor, in association with the ISRO, announced the launch of the India's first hydrogen power automobile bus, and Tata later flag off the trial run of the vehicles in the partnership of IHC in the 2018. So very limited work is done in hydrogen in perspective to India. It is only on the paper or some research stage only. If you relatively assess the alternative fuels for the different criteria, if you compare that CNG, LNG, LPG, ethanol, biodiesels, methanol, the dimethyl ether and the hydrogen, if you compare that, you will find that reduction of the CO2 is more in the hydrogen and the CNG and LNG. There is some significant benefit in the biodiesel and the ethanol also. Local sourcing possibility, that is a major role to change the or shift the technology from the fossil fuel to the alternative fuel. Then you can find that CNG has a triple plus signs, so more easily adaptable and it is having more possibility of as a source also CNG. Ethanol is also having a more possible source, and the methanol is also having more possible source. But there is a very less for the LNG, and the hydrogen also is in the very less sourcing capability, you can say. And replace and reuse, you can reduce, you can do with the help of this all. So this is a relative assessment of the alternative fuels. There are the various options to diversify fuels beyond the gasoline and diesels in the different categories. So there are the various options, and there are the various benefits also compared to each other also. Possibility of alternative fuels in different segment of the automobiles. If you see the different segment of automobile, 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers or 4-wheelers, or LCV or the trucks, there are a lot of possibilities are there. CNG, LPG and hydrogens are there. Here you can, there are the technologies which may not be feasible for the certain vehicle types due to the technology constraint, vehicle use, duty cycles and the customer concerns. The 00 signs market areas are the low hanging fruits, which are the low hanging fruits that can be easily implemented, and we can take a benefit in the upcoming time. So there is a 00 signs which is you are seeing which can be easily adopted in the these vehicle types. So for the car you can go easily with the CNG and LPG, and also you can use the E10 blend in the car easily, and Likewise, in the truck, you can go for the B7 biodiesel 7% blend, and similar way, whenever you can find the three-wheeler, you can go for the B7 blend. So this shows that how easily you can get that technology and adopt that technology for these type of vehicles. And now, if we go for the next segment, earlier we discussed about the various options of the alternative fuels. Now, alternative technology. We are not going to change the fuel, we are going to change the technology. So, here the alternative technology is electrical mobility. So, here you can see low carbon technology we already discussed, that is the CNG, LPG, LNG, methanol, ethanol, is having a very less percentage. Else than the CNG, all are the less than 3%. But CNG has a 22% capture in the Indian market, and 75% from the battery vehicle, or 1% is from solar vehicles in the last 5 years. If you compare for the alternative technologies, then you'll find that more percentage is there for the battery fuels and more percentage for the CNG fuels. From the Vahan dashboard in 2020, we have taken the data, and that shows the EV cells. So from the 15 to the 2020, you can see there is a growing number of the EV vehicles in the market. So you can see the percentage of increase is 133% increase, compounded annual growth rate, you can say. So that is increasing very drastically. So nowadays people are more concentrated to use EV in India. So now, as per the today's data, 2020 data, there is a 5 lakh EV vehicles are there registered in the India. And for different segments, if we check, then the 17% two-wheelers are there in the EV vehicles, and the 79% or 80% vehicles are in the rickshaw, auto rickshaw, and you can say 3% four-wheelers cars are there that are run on the EV. So there is a very big scope of for the four-wheeler cars to move towards the EV. Nowadays, in the three-wheeler sectors, rickshaw, auto rickshaws are there for the EV technologies that in the Delhi and some other state. And two-wheelers, mostly students are using this benefits of the EV, and the very less 1% in the goods carriers, as there is a technology advance is required in the goods carrier. So there is a scope for that four-wheeler to switch towards the EV vehicles. And also, Indian government is also implemented so many policy and focusing more so that we can take a benefit of the electrical vehicle technology. So in the 2010s, they announced the National Council for Electrical Mobilities. Then after they introduced a lot more policies. You can see in the timelines, lot of policies are there, lot of adoptions policies are there, lot of guidelines are issued by the government. And you can see the month by month, you can find the 2 or 3 guidelines every year for the EV vehicles. And government, state government has also given some subsidy so that people can easily use the EV vehicles and take the benefit of the EV. There are so many things in the EV segment that how you can use the EV segments. You can use the EV cars that is written here. You can go for the plug-in hybrid EV car, where you can use the petrol as well as electrical cars. That is normally available in the China. A lot of cars you will see in the China that is a hybrid base. In India, normally you will find the pure EV. EV's main components are the motor. There is a BLDC motors on the all four-wheeler wheel or two, the front wheel, or that can be happens. You have to use the battery, on-road board chargers are there, electrical power control units. These are the various components of the EV. There is one special section of the EV. Session of the EV is also held in the upcoming session, so I am not focusing on this one. There are the types of EV are the electrical, pure electrical vehicles, hybrid electrical vehicles, plug-in hybrid vehicles are there, mild hybrid vehicles are there. There are the 4 basic types are there. If, in India, normally we are focusing on the EV, and in the China you will find the HEV. You require the good infrastructure for the EV. You require the more charging stations. So that can be charged very fast. You require the battery station. So that also gives the support for the EV vehicles. So the government also announced a lot of subsidy to establish the charging station across the highways and across the roads. Benefits of the EV is it is very cost effective, reduce the harmful gases and the cheaper, and reduce the noise pollution. and it's also energy independent, so we don't have to import the fuels from outside. There are certain drawbacks are there, that is initial investment is very high. So you know that initial cost of the EV car is more than 18 lakhs. Nowadays you are getting the EV cars of the Tata, that is Tata Nexons, and that is 18 lakh costing. So it is a very big issue that compared to the normal vehicle, it is costing 60% more. Longer recharge time if you do at the home. So that is the disadvantage from the e-vehicles. You require the battery replacement, that is also costly one. The next one is solar powered vehicles. In India, less work is done on the solar power, but solar powered vehicles can be used as electrical vehicles that's powered by the solar energy, and the photovoltaic cells can be used on the vehicles. Here you can see this components of the solar powers. And the advantage of the solar car and solar power car is no emissions and preservation of the natural resources, no fuel cost, and driving of comfort. But with limitation, if you see the power density is very low, so it can be not easily used for the vehicles. You require a very long vehicle to get the sufficient energy from the sunlight. The cost of PV cell is high, although the sunlight is free, but you require to make a good infrastructure. Cost is very high for making the infrastructure in the vehicles. Design consideration, even though sunlight is no lifespan, but PV cell has a certain lifespan, so that limit the use of the solar car. Today's presentation, I use the data related to the Indian economy that are more based on these three major references. The first one is a white paper on alternative fuels for the vehicles that is given by the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, that is published in 2019. It is very good resource where all the data related to India is given. Percentage of the fuels, alternative fuels used in India up to the 2019, that is shown in this one, and what are the recommendations they have given to the government also written in this document. It's a very useful document and is used in my presentation also. The second reference is there is a February 2021 resource, that is Niti Aayog has published one report on the status quo analysis of various segment of electrical mobility and low carbon passenger road transport of India. So this 340-page report is also good enough to get data for and technology for the electrical vehicles. So it covers a lot of things about the electrical vehicles. The last one, the last reference is about the ethanol blending program in India, that is published by the Niti Aayog in June 2021, where they stated that they will go for the E20, that is ethanol blending up to 20% up in the up to the 25, so the 2030. So they forward their aim in 2025, and that is published by the Niti Aayog in June 21. And so I use the data for the ethanol blending in a presentation by using this resource. And it covers a lot of things about the ethanol blendings and technology. And other resources are so many websites I used to prepare this presentation. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. By now, I'm thanking you. And